Good morning. Welcome to the Car Wash Show 2023. For how many of you is this your first show? Wow. I think for Bill it's 137. Well, 138. Okay, I'm corrected. And that's why I do this first introductory piece. I'm surprised every time I get up here and do one of these things how many people it's their first time. So as I go through this and I go tell you guys where I see the industry and where it's going, I'm going to start with a little family history along with what I see happening in the industry as far as the industry history. And I do that so at least you know who's standing up here talking to you. Then I'm going to go through some industry data because I think it's important that we all start from the same basis. We're looking at where we are and where we're going, that we're working from the same information. And if you find what I find, it's very difficult to put together the information on this industry. You have to go to several sources and kind of compile it all. Then I'm going to go through what I see happening next for future trends, getting your unfair share of some opportunities that I see, and then I'm going to wrap up with some final thoughts. And we will have time for some questions. However, I'm going to go really quick because I've got 60 slides to do in less than 60 minutes, and then leave time for question and answer. But trust me, we'll get to it. So let me jump right in then. So we'll start with the family and conveyor industry history, according to me, because if you get to know me, you're going to realize the only opinion I really care about is mine. When I look at the industry, I really see that it started right after the war. These guys that came back from the war, that got into the business, also started the associations and got together and started sharing ideas. So it's not that there weren't car washes before that, but these are the guys that got together and tried to help each other and bring this thing to the next level and really create the foundation of why we're all here today. So that's why I say I really see it starting around that time. And what was interesting is I got to know all these guys, and what they all had in common is they all said to me, you know, they never felt like they worked a day in their life. If you get the bug for this, you can't get rid of it, you know, and it's something that they did until they couldn't work anymore. These guys stayed in it their whole lives. And when they started, they all started with nothing. And it was the funny thing is they've all told me that part of the story too, which was that they felt that gave them an advantage. There was nowhere to go but up. And these are the guys that created the foundation, like your family. I think your family was 48, mine was 49, right? And my dad was one of those guys. So my father started it just outside of Boston, Massachusetts in 1949. And the picture you see there was from the September 22, 1947 issue of Life magazine. So he had told a lot of his family and friends that he really wanted to go in the car wash business. Remember, back then, there weren't a lot of people in the car wash business. And a woman who later became his sister-in-law gave him that magazine, and that was the final piece to make him quit his job, borrow money from friends and family, and build his first car wash in Lynn, Massachusetts. He did that until 73, and then he moved to Florida. He was idle for about 3.5 years, and then in 78 he started Sonny's, and it was real simple. Why? Because my mother basically said, find something to do or get the hell out. You know, my father wasn't the kind of guy you wanted just hanging around the house all the time. And that's really when he started Sonny's. He wanted to stay in the industry. He didn't want to go back on the retail side of things, but loved the industry and wanted to do something for his friends. So he started a small parts company called Sonny's. Real small, 3 items. I look today, I now have an 1,100 plus page catalog with 15,000 plus items in it, and now we're the largest in the world when it comes to manufacturing conveyorized car wash equipment, parts, and supplies. I mean, you talk about an American dream. Dad starts with 1 car wash and the son becomes the largest in the world. So it's kind of cool. I love saying that, by the way, largest, no, it's pretty. So I have 4 siblings. I'm the youngest, and my brother who's sitting in the front row is the oldest, although he's going to tell you afterwards that he's just reset his clock because he has a new 20-year plan, and you can't have a 20-year plan when you're in your 70s, so he reset his clock. And I wish I was kidding. He always wanted to be in the business. Growing up, I remember him taking the chairs in the kitchen and lining them up, pretending he was washing cars. At 14 years old, he was one of the best drive-on guys in the industry. Dad used to say to him, don't tell Mom it's a great Friday afternoon, come to the car wash, don't go to school. Okay? I mean, you guys, if you've got family businesses, this is true. He always wanted to do this. I never did. I swore I wouldn't go into this business. You guys are crazy. 7 days a week. And in 81, I caught the bug. Actually, in 79, we met. Gas shortage 1979, my brother calls me, I'm finishing college. He says, get up here in Boston. I'm at Florida State University. Get up here, there's an opportunity. 9 years apart. I didn't know him. So we met in 79. I caught the bug when I was up there working with him with this little gas station. And we did our first location together in 1981. So from 81 to 91, we were together building a car wash company that ended up with 13 locations, right? We had 12 full serves, 1 exterior. But we had gas stations, lube centers, convenience stores. We needed that, guys, because with all those full serves, and in 1981, 82, 83, I see some of the guys that are of experience like me, the gray hair, 22% interest to the bank. You think interest rates are high now? We were paying 22% back then. We needed all those other businesses because on a rainy day, we didn't have unlimited plans. We were closed. I had to have those other businesses to keep that income coming so that we could continue to pay those notes off to those guys at the 22+%. So I went down to Florida and ran the Florida locations. He stayed in Boston and ran those locations. And for those of you who know in my company who Anthony is, Anthony ended up moving from Boston to the Orlando sites. I did that with him, like I said, till 91. In 91, I made a change. So while I was running the car washes and Dad had Sonny's, I was doing the marketing for Dad. So every Sunday I'd go to Dad's house for Sunday dinner, and I had a portable computer. You guys remember the Compact Portable 3? It was the size of like a bread box. You know, that was a portable computer back then. You put the little floppy in. And I'm doing all his marketing, and in 1988, I did his first catalog. And with that first catalog, we tripled the business almost overnight. In 1991, I did the second catalog, doubled it again. Dad was livid. What did you do? This was supposed to be a hobby. Now it's work. What are you going to do about it? So I sell my brother my half of the company, and I buy Sonny's. And that's really how the change happened. So until 2016, I had it on my own. In 2017, I took on a financial partner because of you. I saw where the industry was going. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I needed more cash to do it. So in the first 3.5 years under the partnership with Sentinel, I bought 6 companies, and they were very patient with me. I'd never done that before. You know, we were the typical, you run your business yourself, you reinvest all the time. I had no debt. This was a very different environment for me. They held me for 3.5 years, and then right in the middle of COVID, August of 2020, I got traded to Genstar, a group now, instead of out of New York, this group is out of San Francisco. And with those guys, I ran out and I bought a bunch more. I bought 18 companies in 14 months. I told them when I met them, I'm going to buy 20 companies overnight. I bought 18 in 14 months. And my partner came to me and said, when are you going to get off your feet and get something done? You said 20, you only bought 18. I said around 20 I was going to buy. The reason I did that was, being in the business as long as I have, so over 40 years, I knew the families I wanted sitting next to me. I knew the families I wanted to buy. I knew the families I didn't want to buy. I knew the ones that had the right people, the right product that I thought would meld very well with me. So I wanted to run out as quick as I could to put them together and create what you see then as that total solution. Because that's who you guys are. That's what you wanted. It was very different than my clients in the past who want to do a lot themselves. It was easier for you guys if you could go to one source for everything. When I look back at how we got here, you guys remember free with the Phillip? You get 8 gallons or more and the car wash is free at those gas, right? You're laughing, Mike. And what really got that going was the touch-free units, like the PDQ had and whatnot. It drove a lot of people out of the driveway and made them professional car wash customers, which was great for us, because then what happened was the third guy in line who was at that in-bay knew it was going to be 30 minutes. They were looking for an alternative. Where can I still get a professional car wash, but get it done quicker? The next thing that I saw happen in the industry toward the end of the 90s was the first time I saw this much excitement. You saw it in business publications and whatnot, a lot of people talking about the car wash industry and let's do a roll-up. And that back in 95, 96, 97, that's when the companies you see on the screen, like Mister was born. I believe Mister was 96, Car Wash Partners. And I think the reason why it didn't go as well as they wanted to is most of what these guys were putting together were full service. You know how hard it is to run full service chain? I said to my dad when we had our 13, Dad, we're in the real estate business. For us with our own family to get the kind of quality we wanted every day was next to impossible. Back in those days, so in the 80s and 90s, Friday I'm going to turn 65. Back in those days when I was in my late 20s and early 30s and I'd get on an airplane, sooner or later the guy next to you says, so Paul, what do you do? Well, I'd say I wash cars. And the guy would look at me and go, don't worry, kid, things will get better. Or they say, you know, I looked at that. I love the fact it's a real estate-based business, no inventory, no receivables, great margins, cash business. But oh my God, all that labor. Because again, in their mind, they're thinking that full service model. Where if you were doing it right, 42% of your revenue was going to labor. I mean, and then to managing that labor and the weather and all, please. And then it changed. In 2001, Express here in the US was born. And the three guys you see pictured there, Benny, the Beck family, Marcus, by the way, two of them are right here in the room today. I started working with those guys back then, and thank God we're still all working together today. It's been a wild, fun ride. And you see there, we made a video recently on the first 20 years, what we've gone through and watched this thing progress. All three of those units were in the Southeast. And this thing, trust me, didn't happen overnight. I would tell you the first 10 years, a lot of people will still go to those sites because Benny invited people in all the time to teach them how to do this. And guys would stand there watching him do 150 cars an hour, but at the time, at $1 base price, going, yeah, this doesn't work. Excuse me? This can't work. And then I don't want to give up my coin vacuums and be free because I'm going to give up then, X amount of money. So do you not see the volume he's doing? Yeah, this doesn't work. And they fought it for years. What was the difference between what they did and what we did with our one exterior we had? The pay stations, the free vacuums, right? And the value price. It changed the industry. And at the time, I remember when Benny started looking at how he was going to do this, there were no pay stations, so he was going to put a gas pump out there because you could buy a wash at a gas pump. I mean, I could tell you the stories of how this whole thing got started. They're really funny. But what those guys did changed the industry. And really, I would tell you, that's why I believe you're all in this room today. You're not here to talk about full service. So there's the base. And with all those guys that were doing the in-bay, what an opportunity this was, right? So now the third car in line is no longer going to be 30 minutes. It's going to be 3 minutes. So they created an industry for us, a base, and we moved them right to our tunnels. When I look at the data, and you got to know that in my position, I spend a lot of time trying to find the data. So Booz Allen, Data Monitor, you name the different studies. I collect them all and sift through them so I can find the right stuff. When I look at what the ICA published a couple of years ago, so in 2018, they believed that there were 28,500 tunnel locations in the country. The next year, they reduced that down to 18,000 as they started to look at it closer. And then they did a study in 2020, which really was an extrapolation. They looked in certain markets, took that formula, applied it to the rest of the country, and they came out with, I love the number, 17,487. I mean, if we're going to guess, not even like 17,000, it sounded more official if you say 17,487, right? And they were closer. But I kept scratching my head, because remember, I was doing those catalogs with my dad since 1988, right? I bought every list in the industry, trying to send that catalog to everyone I could. I couldn't find 17,500. We just finished our latest study with Boston Consulting Group, and we believe at the end of 22, there was 10,700. And there's the breakdown, guys. About 6,600 expresses, 1,800 exteriors, 1,200. And how did we do this? Those guys not only did the research, they hired a group of people to physically call every one of them. And we gave them a script to use so that we could qualify each of these as to what type of a location they were. So I believe right now we probably have the best database of all those locations of anyone. And I'm telling you, I believe that number is right. For me, it passes the smell test based on the ones we were able to find over the years when we send all this information to hopefully grow our business. Looking at what's happened in the last couple of years, you look at the growth rate of new tunnels from 12 to 15 was at about a 9% clip. It doubled from 16 to last year. And that's about the amount of units we believe were built in those years. This is a slide, by the way, if you notice on the bottom, the sources are all there as to what the different studies are. This is a slide that came right from my company. This is where Sonny's is delivering all of its equipment. 98.8% is now going to express locations. I mean, it's taken over I never would have believed it would have got that far. I thought it was going to settle in maybe at 95 and 5, but no. This is what the whole industry is about today. It's building these expresses. And it makes sense, right? The labor headache is gone. You have now the reoccurring revenue. the model is so much easier to run and so much more scalable than what we had before. It makes perfect sense that that's where all the action is. This slide I found really interesting because all we hear about is the big boys. And yet I would tell you, as I look at what we have right now as opportunities going forward, I would say it's a 50-50 split between what we would call PE and public funds and private. So here's the breakdown, right? We're looking right now at what we are seeing. About 7% of what's about to go forward is from public. 34 is PE backed. And what I have there in the yellow, large regional, that's guys like Benny. So these are people I've known for years that have multiple locations. Some of them behind the scenes have taken on a financial partner. Some of them haven't. So I can't tell you specifically how much of that 16% is which way at this point, but I believe it's about an even split. So let's say it is an even split. That puts you at 50% of what's coming next is still private. Professional Car Washing and Detailing puts out its report every year of the top 50 locations by location count. On the last one they did, 3,741 total tunnels made up the amount of car washes in that top 50 group. And if you look, you see that in 2019, it was exactly half that. So you see the kind of growth and what's happening and how the face of our industry is changing as this consolidation and these big boys come in. But the other part that I find most interesting is it only took 18 locations to be in the top 50. So according to IBIS World, are there any people out there that they say are a major player, and they say they define a major player as someone having 5% share or more? And the largest company we have in the US right now, when this was published, has just under 4%. So according to them, no, there are no major players. And if you know what the makeup of that top 50 is, remember, that top 50 isn't just PE. That top 50 is a mix of PE and private. Over 70% of the industry is still private families. It's still a mom and pop industry. It's just that's not the piece that's making the news. Every study we see, value, speed, and convenience comes out on top. Data Monitor got it in 2008. So we started to see things starting to ramp around 2006, 7, 8, when all of a sudden people are thinking, is it a fad or is this thing going to stick? And Data Monitor does a report on the industry, and they come out and say they found that anything that saves the American public time is becoming more important to them and becoming of more value. Time was more important. They're willing to spend on things, and that's when we started to see the decline of home washing. And then some studies were done, and one of the studies was done by the ICA, and we saw that in the time period when they first started doing this in 1996 to the last study that was done in 2022, we picked another 30 points of the motoring public out of the driveway. What does that mean? They asked the question in 96, where do you wash most often? And at that point, 52% said in the driveway. Last year, that's down to 22%. We picked up 30 points out of the driveway. And if you understand that we have 290 million vehicles registered on the road, that means there was a pickup of 85 million more vehicles washing professionally now than there was in 96. We're seeing the demand go up. And it's because of you guys. Because the first thing that they say in these studies, why don't you wash more often? Costs too much. Or it's too time consuming. You fix that. Especially now with the unlimiteds. The value is there, and God knows the speed is there. You guys are getting them in and getting them out. You solved out of the top 3 things they talk about, you solved 2. No wonder why we're pulling these people out of the driveway. So if the number one reason why they don't wash more is cost, what's the number one reason they do come in? You new people, these guys know. It's not because you guys do it faster or better, because it makes them feel good. Number one reason people wash their car makes them feel good. That's why when we saw the downturn in the economy, 2008, 2009, people kept washing the car. They wanted to do something. COVID took the family to the car wash. Makes them feel good. So in those studies, value, speed, and convenience, always the top 3, followed by quality and consistency. Don't like being sold, rather choose. So when we started with these pay stations, there was an argument in the industry. I want my guy out there. When my greeter's out there, I can get more per car. Yeah, but you scared the customer away. Sure, you got the most out of him for that wash, but that's not what he wanted. He felt pressured. They rather choose. They don't want to be sold. They don't like dealing with people. One of the best things about this model is they don't have to talk to anyone if they don't want to, especially now if they have either the RFID tag or the license plate reader. They pull in, they leave the window up, they don't want to mess with you guys. They just want to get their car washed. They don't like giving up their vehicle. It's their space. Oh, like my wife, when I had my full-service car washes, my kids were little. She just had to prepare the car to go to the car wash. That's changed now. They could leave the kid in the back seat. They could be sleeping. It's very price sensitive. People say, no, how'd you come up with that one? You had to keep digging with people before they finally said it was price sensitive. That's not the first thing they volunteer is, I don't like spending that much. But when the guys do a wacky Wednesday, and it's the highest volume day they've ever had over and over and over again, don't tell me it's not price sensitive. And now with the unlimited plans, you guys have fixed the price sensitivity. You've brought it back to being an impulse buy instead of being a car wash investment. We had full serves. Car wash investment, weatherman says 50% chance of rain. We're getting $28 a car. You're not coming today. Unlimited, I don't really care. I'm going. According to IBIS World's latest report, and this one just came out in March of this year, they still believe we're going to see an increase in our industry by 1.8% as an average over the next several years. So they're still positive about where the industry is going. They believe it's going to be because they're going to see still a continued rise in consumer discretionary spending, and they believe disposable income is going to increase. One of the things they point to with this is services are on the rise. We were locked down with COVID, we bought products. Now instead of products, we're buying services because we can. They let us out of the trap, and now we're spending that money and having fun doing services. So these are the reasons why they believe the industry is still going to grow, and they cautioned that if you see at the bottom that the consumer confidence level is down, this number would have been higher. So even with the idea that there could be a recession coming, they still believe that the overall numbers are positive. This is a lot less in their numbers than what I saw 2 years ago. So they did bring it back, but they still believe our industry is going to make it right through this. The other thing they said, you're going to continue to see registered cars on the road grow. The increase will be about 1.4% over the next several years, so we'll continue to grow from that 290 million up. They believe we're going to see more car mileage on these cars. They believe there's going to be some stabilization in oil, but they see nothing but positive things as far as this goes. Then they talk about regulations. They've been talking about regulations for years and years and years, and I think it's starting to take foot. Are people really looking to go more green? I know this. My kids are. And my kids are willing to spend more for stuff that's green, especially when they're using my credit card. Right? But I see this more and more, and of course, this is a topic we talk about, and should you advertise what you're doing this green? And I don't doubt that there's something there, but again, at least with IBIS World, everything was still showing a positive trend. When I look back on what the makeup of my clientele or the owners used to look like, these are the different pieces I see. I talked before about the guys in the early 50s, 60s, 70s, our families that started back then. 1 to 5 locations, ran them really well, did it all themselves. Then my brother and I came along in the 70s, right? The kids came along and took the dad's businesses to the next level. The only other people that were investing back then, when I say small private investors, my banker, my accountant, my attorney. See, those are the ones that when I said I'm in the car wash business didn't laugh. If they were banking one of these or an account for one of these, they knew exactly what was going on. And now they saw there was a way to get into this. Because if you look at the time frame there, this is just as Express is about to start. So right, 2001, 2010, now you got the well-funded investors. Some of you guys got into it, and all of a sudden your friends were saying, how do I get in? Can I invest with you? They saw this as a great business. You get to 11 and not through 19, and now the bigger private equities come in, right? They really start to see this. They realize it's a real business. It's no longer a fad. Real estate-based, great investment, best thing in their portfolio. And now, of course, the really big boys, the next gen, the family funds, I mean, you guys see it. But the other part of that is, guys, none of those people went away. It's not like this is where we are now. No, they're all still at the table, and that's why you see this much excitement and this much growth in our industry. So there was a transition, right? You had guys like Bill Martin doing this for 1 million years and Boise. And those car wash professionals did everything themselves. They didn't want a distributor on their property. They were going to buy this brush from this guy, that brush from that guy, this chemical from this one. They had real ideas of what they wanted to do, and they wanted to do it their way. They're still in this business. They're growing at a pace that I would say is slower than the new people coming in, because it used to be that the thing that held the industry back was money. Now it's property. Plenty of money out there. You see that picture? You were 39. I went back in the archive. That's my brother. I was 30. You were 39. Then you got so I have the car wash, what I would call the car wash professionals, and now the car wash investors. These guys are blowing and going. Paul, just help me build my business. You take care of all that crap. I'm going to go look for sites. I want you to do all that other stuff. That's why I needed to have all those other pieces in my portfolio. They don't want to get involved and pick this drying agent from this guy and this soap from that guy. Just give me a clean, dry, shiny car and let me go find some more locations. Totally different business. This slide I get a kick out of. That's my airplane in my office. American Airlines gave me that airplane when I had 10 million miles. They wanted me to go to Dallas in 2011 and do the ribbon cutting of the 787 Dreamliner, because I delivered all that equipment back then. Every order that went out, I packed the truck, I delivered the equipment, I stayed at your house. And typically I'd stay 1 or 2 extra days if I had to, and I'd go home in your kid's clothes. And I was hoping your kid was a boy. I still have Corona Tucker socks, Michael. I kept them as just a reminder. You have no idea. So people say, how do you know all these people? And it's 40 years for me. I've dealt now with several generations that are in this room. It was very different than what it is today. And personally, I like what I see. Remember when I was growing up in the business, I said I have a car wash. The first vision that came into people's mind was that dark, dirty little dungeon. Now as you drive by these new sites and they're being built, you go, is that a bank or, oh no, it's a car wash. Where the real estate people like us now and want us in an out parcel because we build a great site and we attract a lot of traffic. Guys, that's only the last 10, 12 years. Most of my gray hair was either because of the full services I ran with all that help crap I used to have to go through with all the labor, and then the last 18 months with everything that happened between supply chain, staff shortages, transportation costs. What in the world was that? And we had to do whatever we could so that we could deliver, because the last thing my clients wanted to hear was, can't deliver. So I used those 40 years of relationships to leverage what I was doing so that I could deliver. You also see what's happened now with the availability of money and the cost of money because of the different things that are going on in the economic environment, right? So things have kind of slowed down with big transactions. The other side of that is I'm still really busy because my clients are telling me it's still the best investment in their portfolio. So they're going to keep building car washes. And they're seeing some of this as opportunity because now some of the multiples have come down. Where I'm happy is I'm starting to see them stop buying B and C sites and stop building next door to each other. What the hell are you thinking? That was bad business to begin with. Just because it was easy doesn't mean you should do it. How about we do it smart and keep this thing going for a bunch more years? A lot of white space out there. No need to build next door. And speaking of then in the future, so we've got the 10,700. The other reason I did this study, you're going to see on the next slide. Remember, I got partners now. And I'm telling them, I want to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to buy that building. You're going, whoa. We're going to hire a Boston consulting group to come back in and make sure you're not crazy. And they come back and they told them exactly what I told them. I could have saved them a lot of money. Just listen to what I was telling you. There's enough white space out there, easily double the size of the industry without cannibalizing the numbers if you do it right. I personally really believe that. I believe it so much, we double down. In the last 2.5 years, that's me in a picture with Anthony and one of my other guys doing a groundbreaking of another 200,000 square foot facility I'm building next door to the one I have now. So I just went from 135,000 feet to 550,000 square feet in my main office. I doubled the physical size of all the other companies that I bought, or bigger, And then I made the capacity of all of those go up by buying all kind of new robotic welders, CNC machines. I more than doubled each of those companies, went 4 times what I needed to do at Autovac, did 6 times what we had, and put in a brand new state-of-the-art chemical facility in Ohio so I could go even further with that. So when I tell you I believe this is where it's going, that's why I wanted you to see the slide. It's one thing to say, it's another one I can show you. You guys have no idea what I see coming next. And then there was the argument, is it going to be, are we building or are we buying? If you were there from the beginning, the building piece was never the piece. When Mr. and those other companies got started, it was all about you're buying existing locations, taking them to the next level. You're buying cash flow and bringing it. It was never about greenfield. And that's why it would be going faster even now if these guys had started it back then. It takes time to build a portfolio of permitted locations. If you decide today you want to do this, I don't care how big your checkbook is, it's going to take you time to build out that portfolio of properties to then get this done. So the first year might be 4, the next year it's 8, the next year it's 19. How do you get to building 50, 60? It takes years to build that portfolio of property. That was never the original game. And now it's not going to be one or the other, it's going to be both. But the other thing they found, and Unlimited helped this a lot, now that you've built a brand and you're starting to build out in the territory you're already in, with these programs, the ramp, so it used to take us 5 years to get to the volumes that we really, it's 1.5 to 2 years because you got the brand, you got the Unlimiteds. It's all of a sudden now they're looking and going, wait a minute, if we can build these things and ramp that fast, I'm only willing to pay so much for these other locations now. This isn't bad. Four years ago, a switch flipped. I met this show 4 years ago. One of my clients comes in and says, hey, Paul, I want to talk to you about this, that, and the other. Great. I get out my pen. I say, tell me what you need, Mike. And you tell me, okay, great. When I get home, he said, whoa, no, now. I'm not leaving the booth. Oh, now. Everything was now. I said, what happened? He says, you don't feel it? I got to buy all these things now. The race is on. I got to block those guys out. I'm going to go fast. I can get these. How quick can you? And I'm saying to my people, did you have the same experience? Yeah, I mean, now. You could feel the difference in the air. Hasn't changed. It's still that kind of a pace. And I believe it's going to continue because, again, remember that list I showed you of all the different people, 1915? None of you people went away. And more of you were coming in the door. So all your hands go up. That map, you see all those little dots, those are my locations. Okay? What do I see next? If you think there's a lot going on now, I believe gas is about to come back into our industry with tunnels, convenience, and auto dealers. These gas guys are trying to figure out what are we going to do if this EV stuff happens, and they're not looking at in-bay. You know, they've always done well with car wash. They've just never really spent a lot of time focused on it, for the most part. Some have, but for the most part, this was an ancillary. I believe that's about to change. I look at Canada and wish if I was 25, I'm moving to Calgary. For those of you who've been up there, it's Dallas on steroids. Bunch of cowboys, oil fields, 2 car washes. What are you kidding me? And I believe it's going to go in that order. I think Canada will start building out faster, then Mexico, and then you're going to see some more movement out in Europe. But I think this is what's going to continue to make our industry grow even faster. So, you got the small, again, all the strong demand. You saw the slides I was showing you, everything's showing a positive trend. You guys are still telling me you're doing really well and want to keep going. You got the real estate people that even now have an appetite to do this. There's more interest than ever. When we used to come to the show, at the end of the day, we'd be at the bar all talking, and the first question Bill would ask me is, so Paul, at your car wash, how many cars did you wash? And we would talk in terms of volume. Not anymore. Our language changed. Now we talk in terms of revenue. So it used to be, I want to wash 250,000 cars and get my average ticket of X. No. Now with Unlimited, it's, as I build these locations, Paul, the ones I'm paying this much to build, I want between this and this is my final revenue number. I want between $1.5 million and $2 million at those sites. I want between $2 million and $2.5 million at these sites. That's how I'm getting to when I back into we no longer talk about, I can't remember the last time someone told me how many cars they washed. You saw this through COVID too, right? And you saw my slide, 98.8%. This is the piece of the industry that's going to continue to dominate. And you see all the reasons why. And remember, value, speed, and convenience always come out on top. Branded sites will outperform the typical performer. I'm going to get deeper into that in a couple slides later from now. But remember that. My branded clients outperform what a typical performer would show. And now I think you're going to see more minis being built too as these guys build out their portfolio, or as you guys start looking for sites and you see these old gas sites that are 150 by 150 and you go, can I put a car wash on that? And then people ask me, can you do volume in a small tunnel? I had one. And I was using my site as a test site. I sold it at the end of 2021. It was a 45-foot building with a 53-foot conveyor. And I washed over 258,000 cars in that thing. You see it in the top. The bottom picture is when I added the second mini tunnel, and I made it exactly the same size because I didn't want people saying, I want to go into tunnel 2 because it's bigger than tunnel. So I made 2 duplicates, and right away the first year I went to 284,000 and then broke 300,000 cars. So can you do it? Yes, you can wash cars in a mini. In my company, we talk all the time about getting our unfair share. We play to win. Dad always taught us, do the right thing every day, be the best at what you do, and the money would come. And I believe him. My goal was never to be the largest in the world. It was always to be the best. I wanted to build a car wash company, the kind that he and I wanted to deal with back then when we were building car washes together. So when I talk about the unfair share, I don't mean it from arrogance. I mean it in that I'll outwork you. See, that was the other thing. I didn't know when you get knocked down, you could stay down. Not in my house. You get knocked down, you better get up, and you better get up quick. So this is what I've done to try to get my unfair share. This is not hard to figure out. When you talk to my team, hopefully I've trained them well enough, they're going to tell you 3 things. And number 3 on this list, guys, I changed 4 years ago. So if you say, gee, Paul, why would I want to deal with Sonny? So let me tell you why. Number 1, we're the largest in the world at what we do. We manufacture and sell more conveyorized car wash equipment than anyone in the world. In fact, a minimum of 2 times my nearest competitor. And we're true manufacturers. Why is that important? Because as we see things that you guys tell us we need to change, we can do it quick because we're the true manufacturer. I'm not having stuff built in China and it comes here pre-assembled, so I can't make a change. No, we're very market responsive because we do it in-house. That's number 1. Number 2, total solution. From the slide I showed you, I bought all the right companies with all the right people so I can get you guys what you need. When I changed number 3 to and we can deliver, my own team said, what the heck are you talking about? So you don't see what I see coming. This industry is about to explode. If you can deliver, you can win. I had to do all this capacity and all for you. I can't tell you I can't deliver. I want it on the shelf. Full systems, 4 weeks. Components in stock for immediate delivery. You want a conveyor, you got to come to me. I'm the only one that has it on the shelf. When people come and visit me and that are going into the industry, I know I'm not the only site you're going to visit. You're going to come to my site, you're going to go to at least 1, if not 2 of my competitors. And I ask you one thing in return. You spend the whole day, we walk you through the head guy in each of my different divisions so you can see our controls, you can see our chemicals. At the end of the day, I say, would you do me one favor, Tom? When you make a decision, would you call me back and let me know who you chose and why? And they go, sure, Paul, you earned that. I go, great. They call me up and I said, what'd you decide, Tom? And they laugh and they go, you didn't even make this a fair fight. I said, why would I? They see I'm buying this building and that building and this and then. I've got a plan. And I'm putting in all these locations around the country to support you and make sure I'm right there when you need me. It's not that hard. I tell you that because now I'm going to show you how I believe you can get your unfair share. I told you about branding, right? When I go to Baton Rouge and I go to lunch and I say to the guy sitting next to me, hey buddy, where do you wash your car? Benny's. Before I can finish the sentence. You know how many more car washes around now in Baton Rouge? Benny's. Benny's has built a brand there second to none. So if I do a pro forma for Benny for what would be a new site, if it wasn't for him, I may tell you I think you're going to wash X. When I know it's him, it's X+. You get the lift of your brand. So as you guys are doing this, and I know none of you are looking to build one, you want to find a location where you can build your multiples, cluster them together, and make sure you get the benefit of building that brand. But whatever you do, you better make that expectation good. Who was it that said, what do you think is going to still happen with the little guy when I walked in? It's real simple. You're going to be just fine. Because if you're there every day doing the right thing, you're hard to compete with. Clustering. You got to look at this a couple different ways, especially in areas like LA. It's not just physical distance, it's how long does it take to get there as you're looking at how close you're going to put these things together and how you're going to get your economies of scale. Site layout. We built over 400 units last year for our clients. There's a formula to this. Especially like the pay stations, how many cars can you stack before? But the other thing, how many cars can you stack after between that pay station and the beginning of that tunnel so you're not running out of cars on your busy days so you can get the max? There's a gazillion little things you need to know. Make sure you use someone that knows what they're doing when you do this. Because once you build it, it's too late to fix it. Marketing. I'm sorry, I don't believe it's build it and they will come. I think location is extremely important. If you want to differentiate yourself, you should do the right marketing. Both on-site and off-site, and make it effective. Make sure it's all tied together, and make sure it makes sense, make sure it's readable. On the off-site stuff, even though I'm old, I would tell you still should do the web stuff, the social stuff, and I'm not going to use it, but someone else will. I still can't give my grandkid my phone to teach me how to do stuff. But I do believe it's very important in today's market. On POS, I think LPR has changed things. I also see some of these apps that have changed things dramatically. And what I love about some of this stuff is you're getting real data. Even if you don't belong to the membership, I know how many times you've come. I don't know your name, but I can't even market to you. I can say it's your second time coming this month. Why don't you buy the unlimited? I can't call you out by name, but I can at least, and I can change my screens accordingly. And I can actually see then how many people are coming through and what the whole relationship of what's going on my site is. I have the data now. The other thing I like too is before you open, you can put up that billboard. My $20 unlimited is $9.99 as long as you buy it before I open. Go online to my website, sign up, put your license plate in, you're done. You don't have to talk to that guy. First day you open, it reads that tag, knows who he is, gate opens up and he gets his wash. You can, I love where all that's going in with some of these new apps are to get to the next level. But you should be doing all those things. Training. I had to stop watching the camera at my car wash. Can't you just do this? Can you? My clients that have multiple locations, that have two, that have the same demographics, where one is outdoing the other one, will tell you it's this. It's the experience. Makes all the difference in the world. Make sure your people are trained. When you're building that brand, don't forget to use the best locations. All things equal, best location wins. So guys, look at these numbers. When I was going to my partners and they said, I'm going to take this building, I'm going to do this, I wasn't guessing. It's because you people talk to me. Look at those numbers. Before I left Fort Lauderdale to come to the 2022 show, I had 1,000 tunnel commitments in my pocket. It's 2 years worth of business before I ever got here. Standing in front of you today telling you the number this year is bigger. My team is upstairs having breakfast celebrating right now. We haven't opened the doors to the show yet. So I'm not guessing. And the reason they tell me is because I need to be able to look them in the eye and say, I can deliver for you. And that's why I bought all these robots and did all these buildings, and I'm not going to let these guys down. These guys have believed in me for generations now. But I know what's coming. I'm not guessing. And all I see is good things coming. With all that, again, for the guy who asked me, is the little guy okay? Don't forget clean, dry, and shiny. See, what I tell my people, answer the phone. You know how many people say to me when I ask them, why'd you end up doing business with me? I'll Paul, your people call me back. Your people answer the phone. Huh? Forget all the fancy crap. Don't forget it's about putting on a clean, dry, shiny car fast. And with my people, I keep telling them, don't forget it's about getting back to that client. Processes and procedures, making sure you guys know what you're doing and get it done right? Professional environment. Location, location, location. consistent experience. Jack Trout writes a lot of books on marketing, and his quote here, superior performance in a competitive world is all about mastering business basics. Don't overcomplicate this, but do it right day in and day out. Okay, is it too late to come to the dance? No, I don't believe it is. By the way, I had to learn a new language when all these PE guys came in. So if the PE guy was going to ask me this question, he's not going to say, Paul, is it too? He says, Paul, what inning are we in? Have you heard that? What inning are we in? That's how they ask that question. No, there's still no major players. Still 70% of it's mom and pop. And still, if you're going to be there every day doing the right thing, I think you can have a successful company. That picture was 30 years ago. My daughter was 8, now she's 38 years old. I know. I said in 2019 when Professional Car Washing and Detail asked me the question of where I think it's going, I said, as the state of the industry, I believe we're about to see another gear change. As fast as the pace last 5 years has been, I believe the next 5 to 10 years will be even more exciting. Hold on, the best is yet to come. I still believe that as I stand here in front of you. And I hope I prove that to you by showing you where I'm going with my company and why. And before I ask for questions, I want to say one more thing. For those of my clients in the room, thank you for getting up this morning to support me here. And thank you for what you've done for me and my family my whole life.